Yeah. So everyone's got headphones, which is great. And Rob, we can hear you and see you. And thanks so much, Igor. Rob from EOS Detroit and Ollie from Lumeos, which is a DApp, is here. Feel free to introduce yourself. But also, if you have questions for Igor and Hyperion, I just want to kind of bring you guys in first just to see. And then we'll do a panel session with all of you guys together. And Rob will be moderating as well as answering questions. So any questions for Igor, Ollie, or
cool.
Rob?
Thanks a lot, June. Appreciate the invite. I'm Rob from EOS Detroit. We've been competing as a block producer candidate since March, and we're working on some really cool stuff behind the scenes, having to do with mesh networks and fair equity splits. So we've been working on some of our own tech. But June, you had asked me to moderate that panel, so I do have a bunch of questions prepared. And I just want to say really nice job on that, Igor. It's refreshing to see that level of professionalism. There's been so much good development going on in EOS, and you guys are definitely leading the pack there. So I did put in a certificate request just now and would love to run an ingester.
Nice.
Ali, did you want to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me? Hey, yeah, I'm Ali. We're building a DApp and more of an infrastructure actually for any user to be able to save their data encrypted and store it perfectly under an EOS account. And the idea is now that you own data is basically it's in your wallet. So I'll talk more about it later. But yeah, I've been following up just with Hyperion right now, actually. Fascinating stuff. But yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Cool, welcome, Ali. One of the questions I had prepared for this panel is, what do you think is most important for reducing the block producer latency? And it seems like Igor already somewhat addressed that through the analysis that you can perform in an Elasticsearch cluster like Hyperion. So that was really great. Would you like to shed any light on that, Igor?
Yeah, basically from what we have been seeing, the scheduling is the biggest problem for latency, but we saw this week that we could improve the NAT plugin. So V1 released a recent patch that improved some latency problems within the NAT plugins, and also if people do better peering, if people peer through correctly through seed nodes and do better peering between the producers, we can improve latency. But mostly the schedule is not optimized at all, and we need to fix this. So that was the reason we started building a tool called EOS Beat. That was like 4 months ago or more, back in the Jungle network days. And we saw the latency problems and the scheduling problems there, and then I started to build the EOS Beat to just ping everybody in the network and collect that into Elastic Cluster, and then we stopped that because of the launch, and now we turned that into Hyperion, into a full-blown project. Yeah, they are asking for URL. EOS Beat we have on my GitHub, but it's not like working anymore. We shut off that cluster, but it's just the foundation for Hyperion.
Wow, thanks, Igor, for such a comprehensive answer. You basically gave 5 different ways we can improve, and that's amazing. What do you think, Ali? Do you have any additional thoughts on network latency? Or you guys are more focused on like the DApp side of things and less on the block producer infrastructure, right?
I do have a quick question, I guess. So one thing on our roadmap for our application is to run specific software by BPs to do something for our platform, mainly to verify data authenticity for when we are aggregating some of the users' data. I was wondering, like from a BP side, I've never had the chance to like discuss this more, but basically, would you be willing to run custom code from dApps to do certain things with the hardware that you're already using for running the network? And I can give an example if you want to know more.
Interesting. You want to ask BPs to run a client to do like an off-chain client to do some additional verification, or maybe act as an oracle, a data oracle to the chain?
Yeah, so think of it this way. Let's say we wanted to do, so we can do it ourselves, but given that the BPs are already voted into the ecosystem and they are running the network, and they are like, I guess they are more trustworthy than a third-party application to do certain actions. Let's say I wanted to, from a BP, I wanted to verify or to unencrypt certain data and then re-encrypt it back using 3 different BPs. And once the 3 of them give the same answer, then we take it back to the network and we will say, yes, that is what we need. And that's basically like the question. Like, let's say we already set the code up for you, and we'll tell you this is the requirements to run it, either through, I guess, like AWS or through your own servers. And if you do this, and then you push to the network your solution, and if all 3 of them are the same, then we will accept the answer and encrypt it again.
So personally, it sounds like what you're asking for the oracles to be are service providers. And I don't think that, I agree with you that the BPs are already vetted and trusted by the token holders, but I think it would be hard for them to scale this type of tight coupling with dApps. Like, say, in the future when there's hundreds of dApps, if some number of them are asking BPs to perform some trusted role, it probably won't scale very well. So my gut intuition here is that this would be well served by having some sort of reputation layer plus service providers. So people would compete in the market to be service providers, to be the data oracles, and that would be like a separate role. And I think that goes back to what you were saying about you guys could do it yourself, which may be to develop some sort of layer like that to create like a service provider layer for your dApp. But that would be my gut instinct, is just that it would be hard for BPs to scale this type of support for dApps in the long run.
I see. Even like if we decide to like pay a portion of the, like a portion to the provider who validated the data in the form of an EOS token or Lumeos tokens. So we realize that is going to, like, something similar to like what EOS does, where by paying the block producers to run something, the dApp can actually pay something for the block producers to run it, and that might actually be helpful for the other block producers outside the first 21, maybe like 22 to like 30. Yeah,
exactly. That's a good point. Like, they decide to subsidize their BP infrastructure while they're not active block producers, or perhaps not even hitting the paid standby line, by using those idle resources to run your service. And we sort of envision a similar approach for incentivizing MeshNet. So the service providers will run, and provide this role and earn some tokens, some of the app tokens for providing that role. Do you have?
Yeah, that could be the same for storage also, right? Because when storage would be added to the platform, we would need to compensate people for storing data, and this could be a great way to pay the standbys for infrastructure.
Sorry. Cool. Let's see. I had another question for you two. So, do you support the Rex proposal by Dan, the resource exchange, and why or why not?
Me or?
Yeah, sure.
I'm
for both of you.
yeah. So this resource exchange, is that like like RAM and CPU, or
Yeah, I think Dan just released the proposal like a week or two ago, and it's for lending CPU and network resources.
I support
and
anything that lowers costs for dApp developers.
yeah, totally. What do you think about the Rex, Igor?
Well, I think most of the token holders will want something for lending, right? And as a reward for voting. And I think it's a good proposal in the means that if we incentivize people to vote in at least 21 producer in order to be able to be eligible to participate to receive the tokens, that could be a great way to increase the voting percentage in the network and to improve the stability within the producers. And like so.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great incentive. You know, if you want the passive income, you have to do your civic duty, basically.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just figured we should touch on that since it was top of mind. So another question for both of you. Which technological challenge do you think need to be solved for EOS dApps to be mass adopted? It might be kind of hard to say since it's so early, but is there anything glaringly obvious to either of you that is sort of like in the way preventing mass adoption of an EOS decentralized app?
Mm.
I mean, I was thinking first like wallets, but they're getting there.
Yeah, I think it's more not exactly wallets, but the education of the token holders and how EOS works and what are the benefits of using like this blockchain and not the other blockchains, and how they can protect their account properly and all this stuff that make the users safer in more insured, more confident in using a dApp and EOS. I think this education part is not in this stage where I wanted that it could be, but we also get in there. So.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you there. And someone mentioned in the chat as well, cost of opening an EOS account. That seems to be a fairly large problem right now if we think about millions of users being adopted. But I think Block One has mentioned they're going to be giving out free accounts with their iPhone wallet. So that'll be really exciting for just getting people to have an EOS account. And I think, in my opinion, what's been the problem all along is key management. It's really hard to teach people how to manage cryptographic keys. So the closer we get to abstracting that away using mobile phones and hardware wallets, the more the pump is primed for mass adoption, I think, because it's just so hard right now to lock down your account for everyday non-technical users.
Yeah, we built a mobile dApp. Hopefully, is going to be on mainnet next month. But we did not put much effort into like wallet because we know that like it's being mostly focused on like by the Block One team or by some other teams. But it feels like that is going to be the best like entry point, figuring that out for users, especially on mobile, for mass adoption.
Yeah, mobile's the future. I totally agree. I don't even try to get people in my neighborhood on EOS yet. I'm just, unless I know they're early adopters or technical, it's just waiting for those mobile apps. Because I don't want to give people a bad first impression either. And already it's a little overwhelming for some people to deal with keys and all of this. So I'm really excited for mobile wallets and dApps that run on mobile, and maybe even in the coming years someone will make an EOS based mobile OS, and that would be really great. So let's see. What are your favorite tools for developing dApps on EOS? And what are your favorite libraries as well? What do you use to develop mostly, Igor?
Mostly only Sublime Text. So I tried using like Sea Lion in the beginning, but didn't. Was too much to fix to make it work properly. But just Sublime Text works. So basically that. But I'm not. I don't spend my most of my time building smart contracts. So I have so much infrastructure work to do. So I usually focus on networking and those APIs like Hyperion and others.
Cool. Yeah. Likewise, I have not gotten that deep into dApp development yet. Just holding down the nodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sublime and
A lot of
Vim,
work.
I guess. Yeah. But like mostly, I mean, the best part, it's just traditional coding. It doesn't have like extra levels. What I would really like to see is a bigger developer community, and that is slowly going along. Like if we had a question, we'll have to figure it out ourselves, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of months as app developers. So just having like a bigger EOS community for developers would be huge.
Yeah, basically documentation. If we had better documentation since the beginning, a lot of developers would be more confident in working with EOS because it's still lacking. Like just basic documentation, not even for running the node, but for writing contracts and understanding the internal APIs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the documentation can definitely be improved. It is leaps and bounds ahead of, I think, the other DPoS projects, though. So that's a good sign. And I have noticed that the developers portal that Block One released, developers.eos.io, looks to have been improved. So it's good to see that there's iteration there, but I think the community can definitely rise up and provide, fill in the gaps a bit. So that kind of goes into my next question, which was, do either of you have any recommendations for existing software developers who want to start learning EOS development?
Well, I think it's hard to give a recommendation if the developer doesn't have like a goal set. So I think the good thing is like create some depth, have some idea, and just start to try to port that to EOS and try to develop it. So if you don't have resources to learn, you have to learn by failing. So you need to start now. You need to start failing now so that you can get better. So because it's not that you can go read that book or watch that online course. It doesn't work like that. So I think that the best advice is just stick to your idea, try to build it, do mistakes and try again, and you'll get better.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just
yeah. I gave it so I think a couple of weeks ago, one of my friends reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm interested to try to build something with you guys." And my interview to him was basically gave him the tutorial and told him, "Hey, go through this. Basically, build the basic EOS dApp and on developers EOS.io, and let us know what your thoughts, and then we can talk afterwards." And that's like basically the entry point to anyone who wants to start working, developing on a dApp right now.
Awesome. Do you think maybe you could get that link for the chat later?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Ali. And then June's asking if we'll wrap it a little early so that we can try to make up some of the lag time here for the conference. So I'm going to ask one more question to both of you. Are there any voids that you think need to be filled for a smooth EOS developer experience? I think that you touched on this a little bit, Igor, with written documentation, but also, I guess mostly I'm just curious, like what, as a developer, which tools are on your wish list that maybe don't exist yet?
Yeah, one thing that we were building, like a developer playground, like integrated IDE for the developer just to open and to just start doing something. We started building this. We need to go back and fix something after the latest updates. But basically, it's a web page that you can just log in, create a contract, upload that, save it to your account, and go back and start doing it again. So if we have this in a level with a local node that runs, and you can just bootstrap actions and change like quickly with the user interface, so you can see, you can just do stuff faster, because developers need to do stuff faster, and I think that's the void that's missing. Development environments that is integrated with a local node. You don't need to use the mainnet for that, but basically a local node that you can quickly deploy. You don't have to handle private keys on that. It just do everything for you. You just, like, you open a Java IDE and build your code and run it. So you don't need to handle a private key to deploy to the network and call the actions, build the transactions. If the developer care less about that and care more about the code, we'll see fast improvements. So
yeah, that sounds really useful. Just kind of taking some of the boilerplate and having it all ready and bootstrapping accounts automatically for developers and things like that. Yeah, because there is quite a bit of command line stuff you have to do to even have your test case set up usually.
Yeah, you need to know the commands, but just for daily usage, it's not good. It's not like your typical workflow.
And I mean, I think having built like cloud-based application myself, one of the reasons I really like building, like for instance on AWS, is because again, you have to run a lot of commands, but it's fully documented exactly the way you like. You wouldn't spend much time having to figure out whether you've done something right or wrong, and that is like basically what is missing for sure. Like exactly a step by step. This is a deploy. You're good to go, and this is what you can do to verify. But hopefully, it's getting there, right?
Yeah, no, and I remember, like Martin from Tokenica, they have a very nice tool that helps in this void. It's just like, it's not commonly used for developers, and we need to have more people using this in development in that area.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, definitely shout out to EOS Factory. That I visited it a few months ago, pre-network launch, but definitely need to go look at that again. In order to save time now, I think we're gonna try to wrap this session up. I'm not sure if June wants to pop in and take over now.
Hey, thanks so much, Rob.
Hey.
Great questions, great answers from all you guys. I'm sure everyone here's learned a lot. If they're developers or working on kind of infrastructure as well. So thanks so much. Great insights, guys. Great questions, Rob. So I'll kind of transition to the next session here shortly. So thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Thank you for organizing things.